Hey guys, it's Leslie. Welcome back to my channel. I'm just going to do a mid-month check-in of the middle grade books that I've read and share some of my thoughts on them so I don't have to save it for a final wrap-up. The first book I finished for middle grade March was Sideways Stories from West Side School by Louis Sachar? How do you say his name? Why don't I know? Anyway, well, this is just a story about an elementary school that was built upwards and not across, and it's just little like 2-page stories about each of the students in the class, and it's super cute. I will say that it maybe doesn't hold up as well to an adult as it did as when I was a kid when I read it, but I still really liked it, and I thought it just, some of the writing is just so silly. I mean, it's all really silly, but I just found it like fun and whimsical, and you can probably read it like in an hour because it's so short. So that one was fun, but I don't know if it's like, if you've never read it, I don't know if it's great for an adult to go out and read it now, unless you have kids, and reading it with your kids would be really fun. So that I do suggest. The second book I finished for middle grade March is Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech, and I really liked this. I'm so glad that I decided to read it again, even though I'm sure I read it as a kid, like in elementary school, but I just don't remember anything about it. I did not remember the story in the slightest. So I'm really glad I decided to listen to it. I did listen to it on audio, as I said in like my last video. I just found it super endearing. I wanted to keep reading. I wanted to keep listening. I fell in love with all of the characters. I feel like the best thing about middle grade books is that the lessons that they teach are so universal. I don't feel like it matters if you are a child or if you're an adult. These are lessons, they're like life lessons on how to deal with certain circumstances, but also on how we as people maybe should behave. I think that's like one of the saddest points of growing up is we kind of forget these lessons we learn as children, like be respectful. Lord, I can go through a drive-through and see zero respect happening in the real world, and it's over fast food. I mean, like, come on, people. But yet we try to teach our kids to behave a certain way or to, you know, include other people and like everyone else. And then as adults, we just act like we're above that, which is so sad. So revisiting some of these books has just been super eye-opening, and, you know, honestly, I feel a little bit like the Grinch, like, you know, maybe my heart has grown a couple of sizes with reading some of these books because they are that touching and that, you know, they're simple enough for a kid, but they are teaching us things that even as adults we need to learn. And as a society, we certainly need to be learning some of these lessons, particularly about handling things that don't go our way. I mean, that is something that is in kids' books all of the time, mainly because kids don't usually have a choice, or they don't have a lot of power, or they have to just kind of roll with the punches that they have because either their parents are making them go through a situation or what have you. But for me, I just feel like these books just present so much, and Walk Two Moons is no different. It's just full of it all. My favorite characters in Walk Two Moons are the grandparents. I love how they talk with each other. I do think everyone should read Walk Two Moons. It's very short, and I really think most people would like it. So check that out if you've never read it before. The last book that I've read for middle grade March as of today, March 19th, is The Lovely Anne of Green Gables. And I never read this as a kid. I don't know why. I feel like this is a book my mom would have really wanted me to read, but for whatever reason, I never read it. I don't know. I just never got to it, and I freaking loved it. That's all I can say about it. People who like go on and on about Anne Shirley, I'm always like, yeah, that sounds a little cliche. But I loved it. I loved the writing. For a book that's written over 100 years ago, the writing is very beautiful. I feel like we've lost a lot of that in our like modern writing. It's just not like the words choices are just so much more meaningful, I feel like, in these older books than maybe today. I don't know, maybe that's just a personal thing, but it just sounds prettier. And I feel like you can learn a lot more from these books because the vocabulary is a little bit different than what we typically use now. But Anne is hilarious without really even trying to be funny. Like, this is not a book that's like laugh out loud funny, but she's just like a hilarious character. Like, she's so cute and endearing and disarming and just all around a lovable girl. And I really liked her. Although I will say this is a little bit of hate, maybe not towards Ellen Montgomery or Anne herself, but this is a little bit of hate for people who love to say, you know, on those quizzes or questionnaires, like, what fictional character are you most like? And people say Anne Shirley. Bish, please. No way. No one is like Anne Shirley. One, because nobody gets into this much trouble or in these situations and is also super lovable still. Nope, don't believe it. I've yet to meet a person like that. So if you compare yourself to Anne Shirley, either you think really highly of yourself or you didn't read the same book I did. All right, that's kind of rude, but still. I really don't think there's anybody in existence that I've heard of that is like Anne of Green Gables. She's so over the top in her drama, but in this like laughable way that's, you just can't help but love her. And I don't know, I think it's funny. So anyway, that's my opinion on people who say they're like Anne Shirley. Secondly, though, about this book, no one, at least from recent videos or anything that I've read recently, talks about the other characters in Anne of Green Gables. You hear a ton about Anne Shirley, but not really anything about the other characters. And I will tell you, Marilla, who is basically the adopted mom, quote unquote, of Anne, is maybe one of my favorite characters in all of literature. She is so snarky, so sassy, but she's so marshmallowy good on the inside that I just can't with her. I really liked her. I think most people reading this would think she was just like such a hard-nosed kind of mother figure for Anne, but I don't know. I think she's so much more than that. I will say that she also reminds me so much of my own mom. My mom has a reputation of being a little like gruff, maybe is the word, but she's not that way at all. I feel like like all of the choices that she makes for Anne come from the fact that she feels so responsible for her upbringing, which is what Marilla and Matthew, the other person bringing up Anne, who's actually Marilla's brother, they're not married. And, you know, they talk a lot about, oh, I have to bring her up, and I'm bringing her up, and don't interfere, I'm bringing her up. And I just think, I don't know, she's so funny. That she is a really great character. I feel like she's so reminiscent of the women figure that I've like studied historically in like this time period. They do what needs to be done for their children, but they love their kids more than anything, but they can't always let it show because they think it's going to make them sort of, you know, like it's not going to help them grow enough. And I know that's like so politically incorrect today. Like we need to like love our kids, so flowery and all this stuff, and like discipline can be so negative today. But anyway, I loved it. I love Marilla. If you've read this, let me know your thoughts on Marilla because I freaking loved her. I mean, when she is calling, oh, what's her name? Diana, Anne's friend, greedy because she ended up accidentally getting drunk off some wine, I was like laughing so hard. Of course, she's not going to care that this little girl gets drunk accidentally. She's just going to call her greedy for having 3 glasses of it instead of only having 1. I don't know. That scene killed me. I loved it. I loved Anne of Green Gables. I did just read something about Ellen Montgomery maybe not loving writing sequels, so I'm a little leery about reading like Anne of Avonlea or the other ones, but tell me if you've read those and if they're worth it, if they're good, or if you know any other history about Ellen Montgomery, because I feel like she's lived a kind of a sad life, but I don't know. Anyway, those are the 3 books that I've read so far. I probably am not going to get to the Percy Jackson books that I wanted to read, partially because I own them and I can read them whenever I want, and the other books that I usually get from the library, so I feel like I should read them before I return them. So I don't know if I'll get to those. I want to read The War I Finally Won by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley, I think was the author. I have that on hold at the library. I'm getting that today. So I hope to finish that by the end of the month. Well, I should finish that by the end of the month. And yeah, so I've been really, really liking Middle Grade March. If you're not into middle grade or you have not really thought about reading it, maybe pick one up. There are a few other people on BookTube who are doing this, and definitely a lot of readers on Instagram. So check that out. I highly recommend them. They're super fun, especially if you're in like a bit of a reading slump, because they're super fast to read. I think you might find yourself really enjoying a story and then getting out of a slump. Anyway, this video was super disjointed, and I'm sure this editing is gonna suck. But I hope you guys are having a good reading month, and hopefully wherever you live, well, if you live in the North, well, North America, not North America, but the North in America, in the United States, that it's warming up for you. I'm freaking done with the snow. Come on, March. Come on, spring. I need the sunshine. Anyway, that's all. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.